Hey guys, so I didn't really give Stephen King's Desperation much of a review in my original video, so I'm going to talk a little more about it here. So, for those who don't know, Desperation is a novel King published in the 90s, and it starts off being about this couple who's driving through the desert in Nevada, and they get stopped by a police officer. And right off the bat, the police officer's acting really weird. He arrests them for no really good reason, takes them to the town jail of this little place called Desperation. And once there, they find that he has arrested other people that are passing through this town. And very quickly, you discover that the policeman is psychotic, and he is very, very dangerous, and is very quickly prone to beat the living shit out of you, or shoot you, or whatever he deems fit. Then, as the story goes on, you find that the policeman is not quite just psychotic. He's being controlled by this malevolent entity who you find has this deep connection to the town and is behind everything. It's definitely a more of a straightforward horror story. Straightforward horror story with some literary touches. It's not as literary as some other King's novels that are also horror. This one's more just kind of feels closer to just kind of a horror page-turner kind of story. And there's some pretty gruesome and horror imagery and scenes that go on. There's a part where the main couple are a different couple. After they manage to escape from the jail, they're going through the town, and they break into this house looking for other residents. And they find a family who's all dead. And not only are they dead, they're really decomposed, and like a snake is like inside one of the corpses. It's really crazy. But how does this all like read? How does it all like gel with the reader? It's pretty good. It's not a bad story at all. And I didn't mean to make it sound like it was a bad story in my original video. As I recall, I said it was more just, not one of his best and not one of his worst, and that's kind of where I stand with it. Desperation is not my favorite novel by King by a long shot, but it is a good one. It's a very interesting read. You find out all about this weird entity and how they try to stop it, and actually where it came from, and there's flashback sequences wherein they flashback to the couple living in Ohio. And even then, some weird supernatural things are going on that are kind of hinted to be like in conflict with the dark force, and it's kind of this good versus evil narrative in this little town as they try to stop the evil entity, which is known as TAC. And TAC is kind of is a narcissistic entity, because even when he's like speaking through someone, like every other word is punctuated with his name. So, like, when the police officer's talking, he's like, "You're never gonna stop me," kind of thing. It's really weird. It's a weird-ass novel. King wrote a companion piece to the novel called The Regulators, which is even weirder, actually. He wrote it under his Richard Bachman pseudonym, but it ties into Desperation. It's kind of like a parallel universe version of the story. The Regulators is set in the town in Ohio that Desperation goes to in flashbacks. And you find out TAC is there as well, and it's creating like this weird like alternative reality in this little street. Because the plot of that one is like there's a little ordinary suburb that's suddenly just blown all to hell when this weird like thing pulls up, this weird car, and you find out that the malevolent entity is using this boy's like dreams and fantasies and imagery that he knows from like cartoon shows to create this dark, deadly reality. So it's It's not so much a sequel or a companion piece as The Regulators is basically parallel universe version of Desperation, and Desperation is a parallel universe version of The Regulators. They're kind of sister novels. But as far as Desperation, it's fun. It's a good King book. King, as usual, writes very well. He writes very gripping, edge of your seat kind of suspense. He writes very realistic and likable characters. He knows perfectly how to describe like different people and different personalities, so you're not just reading the same character 8 different times. King is definitely good at describing scenes. He knows how to set up and pay off suspense. He knows how to pull you into a story and then keep you interested to find out what happens next, as in all of his stories and novels. And you could certainly do worse. King has written much, much worse fiction than Desperation. A few short stories come to mind, and a couple of novels that I've started and didn't finish because I actually didn't like. But there's few and far between. I've actually read almost everything King's put out as a writer. I've read almost the entirety of the man's output, and nearly all of it is fantastic. And needless to say, some novels are going to be better than others, and some are going to be worse than others, but they're all good. Like, I wouldn't say, like, the exception of a few novels, that any of his novels are bad. Like, just that I like them less. Like, I think something like The Dark Half is not as good as something like The Stand, or I think something like It would be much better than something like, what would I even say, Christine, which Christine is actually one of my favorites. So, I mean, it's just my preference, and it comes down to your guys' preference. But I do highly recommend Desperation. If you wanted just a good suspense horror novel set in a small town, and if you like some supernatural in your horror, then it's definitely a good way to go. So I just kind of wanted to give a little more my thoughts on it, and kind of clear up in case anybody was thinking, it wasn't much of a review. But the reason my review was so short initially is because I just didn't have a lot to say about it. But when I thought about it, I was like, well, I can say this and that about it. So anyways, those are my further thoughts on Desperation. Check it out if it sounds like your kind of thing. Yeah, and I'll be talking about some more King in the future. He's one of my favorite writers, so there's plenty to talk about there. So anyways, thanks for watching this video, and I'll be back soon with another one. I don't know what it'll be. I'm reading like 3 or 4 novels right now, so one of those will probably be next. Or I might just talk about something I've read in the past and just kind of give you my thoughts on that. So, until then, I will see you guys later. Bye.